A little bit about me. My name is Amanda Villarreal, and I am the managing member of PLEX Capital. We are a Kansas City-based company, and we primarily focus on accounts receivable financing, so also known as factoring. In the world of factoring, what we're doing is alternative financing. And basically, in certain industries such as transportation and staffing, is very common for businesses to use a company like mine, especially when they're getting started. So I'll share with you a little bit about, in general, what factoring is. Also the program of PLEX Capital, how we work and how we're able to work with several NOSA members as well. And I will open it up for questions as well, so do feel free to ask questions. I love working with the NOSA members. They're very good about asking questions and not holding back. And so hopefully this session is informative and there's some good takeaways, but do not hold back as far as asking questions. And so, again, I'll start a little bit with about me. As the managing member of PLEX Capital, I've been really lucky to be able to join several organizations or groups, and really trying to educate new companies on what it is that we do and how we can benefit them. I am also the proud mom of a 17-year-old who is officially a senior at Olathe West here in Kansas City, and also a 6-year-old boy that typically acts like an 18-year-old, but I'm a single mom, and so I try to juggle my business with being a mom and home, and then also having a little bit of time for myself. And so that's a little bit about me. I've been in commercial finance for 13 years. I started my career back in 2007 in commercial finance. And throughout the years, I basically was able to, I guess, climb the corporate world and became vice president of sales and marketing for a pretty large commercial finance company that was specifically focusing on financing transportation. So pretty much the same what we do at PLEX Capital, but specifically with transportation companies. When I ended up leaving the company, I decided that I was ready for my own business. And so along with the then general manager of that company and myself, we decided to launch PLEX Capital. And as you can imagine, we had to stay away from transportation, so that opened up the doors to other industries. And one of the heavy ones that we are currently focusing on is the nurse staffing industry. And so this is how I came in contact with Shamika, and she gave me the opportunity to, make contributions to the group by giving you content and information on how to select your funding company. And so this is the reason why we're here. Now, what is factoring, or also known as accounts receivable finance? Basically, this is another alternative for you to access capital when you are selling a service or product on terms. So typically, you as the agency that is placing nurses are going to go to facilities and get contracts that will probably end up doing net 30, net 40, even net 60 with larger organizations. And so what that causes is a lack of working capital, because as you're placing your nurses, what happens is that you're having to self-finance, and that's great if you have the funds, but self-finance and pay your nurses every week or bi-weekly, and that might prevent you from scaling up if you don't have enough working capital or if you're not able to self-finance your business. And so with factoring, the way that we work is we take the receivables that you're generating for the work completed, and we pay you as soon as you complete the work. So for example, if you're placing, let's just say 5 nurses every week, and you have net terms of net 30, payment terms of net 30. What happens is that typically you're going to have to pay your nurses every week or biweekly. And meanwhile, your customer is going to take the 30, 40, 50, or 60 days that you give them to pay you. And what we do, we say, okay, send the invoice to PLEX Capital and we will fund you. And that allows you to be able to have that working capital to continue to scale up your business and bring on new nurses and also take new contracts with other facilities. And so a good example, I'll go ahead and run some numbers. Say that, and I'll use just simple numbers so we don't get anyone confused. But say that you placed 1 nurse and that total invoice was for $1,000 and it was Monday through Friday. And so you bill out your facility the following Monday. When you bill out the facility the following Monday, so you have the funds for payroll on that Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to send the invoice to not only your customer, but also to PLEX Capital. PLEX Capital will verify that indeed you have that contract with that facility and you also place that nurse that you're billing for. Once we're able to verify, which typically is within 24 hours, we are able to advance you a percentage of that invoice that same day. So again, I'm using very simple numbers. And so on $1,000, I would be able to advance you that same day that I'm able to verify with your customer, the work that you're billing for, 85%. That 85% can be either wired or ACH to your bank account. So now you have the funds to go and do your payroll on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, however it is that you're paying your nurses. Now, 15% of that will go to your escrow account, similar to when you buy a home and you have an escrow account. And so with that escrow, we're gonna put it as a security deposit. When we collect on the $1,000, 30, 40, 50, 60 days, however long you gave to your customer, we're going to release that 15% back to you. And from there, we will take our fee. Our fee typically will run about 1% every 10 days. So if you're giving your customers net terms of net 30, payment terms of net 30, you will end up paying around 3 to 4%, depending on when it is that we get the payment from your customer. So on $1,000, you're looking at $30 to $40. Now, you do have an online portal, which is critical for you to have that as well. That online portal allows you to see the entire history of the relationship with PLEX Capital. Not only that, but also it allows you to keep track of who has paid, who hasn't paid, how much have I paid PLEX Capital, because it is something that it's a business expense. So it's something that you can claim in your taxes, right? The other thing is with our services, we do check credit on your customers. So before you even go into contracts with any facilities out there, you're able to provide us all the information of that company, and we're able to receive, we're able to pull credit, commercial credit on that facility to ensure that that is a good company to work with. And we pull that information from various different sources, from Dun & Bradstreet, eCredit, several different organizations where we are able to pull that information and then let you know if it is a good facility, if it's someone that you want to extend credit of 30 days, 60, or even 90, depending on how good that contract is. Now, I will stop here and ask if any of you have any questions before I proceed, before I continue. Any of you have any questions? Okay. Now, I've done several presentations. I've done another presentation for NOSA members. And I will tell you some of the most common questions that came after the fact. And one of the questions, the most common one that I got was, how long should I sign with a funding company for? And there were a couple members that had signed up with another company that did have a 3-year contract. And she found herself, one of them found herself having issues breaking that contract. In my personal opinion, under no circumstances should you ever sign up a contract for 3 years, especially as a startup. You never want to put yourself in that position because you don't know how things are going to turn out for your business. We all have big goals for our businesses, but in some instances, you might, there might be some delays, or you might not be able to, get the contract that you were hoping to get. And so under no circumstances, any of you should be doing a 3-year contract from the get-go. Typically, a factoring company is going to be about 6 to 12 months. With my company, I usually do 12 months unless we discuss something else, but typically 12 months. But no, like I said, under no circumstances, 3 months. I'm sorry, 3 years. The other question was, should I have minimums? So in many instances, there will be companies that do charge monthly minimums or administration fees. And so as a new company, as you're going into your new business, you should not be signing up with a company that is going to require you to commit to a monthly minimum. And a monthly minimum is basically you stating, hey, I predict that I'm going to be billing $10,000, $15,000, $30,000. And so when you make that commitment of whatever amount you discuss with your funding company, now you're expected to bill that amount. And if you don't, there are penalties involved. So I caution you when you're looking at evaluating your funding company, factoring company, or accounts receivables finance company. There's so many terms do. I encourage you to please stay away. Consider as you're getting ready to, start your business. And so be sure to stay away from that. Now, I am going to review here a question. This is from Audrey Williams. If the facility doesn't pay, are we responsible? Yes, you are responsible. So what we do as alternative finance, as an alternative finance company, we're no different than a bank. When you go and get a line of credit from a bank, you're expected to pay that line of credit when you use it, even if you are unable to collect from your customer. And so it's the same thing with me and with many funding companies. We finance the receivable for up to 90 days. That is the max that we're gonna go. Anything over 90 days, if your customer has disputes or issues, then issues paying, then you would be responsible for repaying that invoice back to the factoring company. There are some factoring companies that might offer what is called non-recourse. And so what non-recourse typically means is that if there are credit-related issues, you might not be responsible for repaying the factoring company if they're unable to collect from your customer. And so the language is a little tricky, and you need to really understand what that means, because credit-related means that maybe your factoring company did approve your customer in their system for you to finance the receivables, but your customer had disputes with you, had questions about the invoices that you were sending, or maybe your customer just doesn't want to pay. Under those circumstances, you're still responsible. And so the terms that we use in the industry is recourse or non-recourse. So I am a recourse company. Up to 90 days, I'll finance it. And after 90 days, if I'm unable to collect, then you will be responsible for repayment. When it's non-recourse, when it's non-recourse, once again, the factoring company basically stating that under credit-related circumstances, you might not, okay? So it's not 100% for sure. You might not be responsible for repayment. So I'm more than happy to do a comparison and really evaluate exactly what is the proposal that you're getting from a funding company. And I expect nothing other than just really making a contribution to the group, because I do have several clients that are NOSA members, and I want to be able to give back and try to guide you and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because just like anything, there's always the good, there's always the bad, and there's always the ugly, and you need to understand exactly what it is as you're going into it. Okay, now let's see. This is from Ogie, I think. Is there a monthly fee when you sign up with a funding company in addition to the percentage charge for funded amounts? Okay, Ogie, so, and I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Like I stated before, you gotta be very, very careful, because there will be, with some companies, there will be monthly fees. And as you're getting started with your business, you must not commit to any of that. Because let's just say that you are in the process, you're checking the boxes right now, you're getting your insurance, you're getting your logo, your website, you're looking for contracts and so on, right? And you go and sign up with a factoring company or a funding company. And you say, hey, I'm gonna do, I don't know, $20,000. I'm already negotiating a contract for $20,000. And so you commit to doing $20,000 with that funding company every month. If you don't, there will be a monthly minimum fee charge for not meeting that commitment. And not only that, but also that they might have administrative fees as well. And so with PLEX Capital, we only have the fee of the percentage for the factoring. And then depending on how you want to receive your funds, which transaction you select, if it's a wire or an ACH, there will be either a $20 fee for a wire or a $10 fee for an ACH. And that is basically for a batch of invoices. You might say, Amanda, I'm sending you 10 invoices. Well, if you select to send 10 invoices and you want your money via ACH, also known as direct deposit, there will be a fee of $10, flat fee of 10, or flat fee of 20 for a wire. Questions so far? Shamika, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, perfect. Now, let's go over the setup process. Setup process or sign-up process typically is pretty fast, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the requirements. I'll speak on behalf of PLEX Capital, and then generally I'll share with you what I have seen that other funding companies require. With PLEX Capital, you can have your account set up in less than 48 hours. And I typically say, you know, they ask, well, how fast can I get set up? And I say, well, I'll dance at the rhythm that you dance. So there's this checklist of items that I need. If you get them all to me, we can get everything processed for you within 48 hours, if not less. And so typically, with a funding company, there will be an application fee and a setup fee. PLEX Capital doesn't have an application fee or a setup fee. We have a 1.5-page application that requires all of your personal information. We do not pull credit, personal credit, because our decision is not going to be made based on your credit score or your personal credit. Our decision is going to be made based on your company being on LLC And not only that, but also making sure that you individually don't have any federal or state taxes passed to. If you do, we're going to ask for proof that you already made arrangements to make payments. And so that is primarily what we're looking for when we send that application. And that application is sent to you via DocuSign. Takes typically 5 minutes, unless you struggle with computers and technology, but typically no more than 5 minutes. It's just one page. And then the second page is where you sign. We will ask for your driver's license or ID. We're going to ask for your articles of incorporation. We will ask for a voided check, your business account voided check. If you've been operating for a while, we will ask for the last 2 months of your bank statements, okay? And then we will also ask for your liability and workers' comp insurance. Now, if you're operating already and you have a client base, we will ask for that list of customers or clients so we can actually pull credit. And we are also going to ask you to send us the agreement so we can review that agreement and make sure that we're able to work with you and your customer as well. Okay. Typically, we can start the process with the application and the articles, and then as you're getting everything else, you start submitting all the documents, which that also works with us. Just understand that the account won't be fully set up until we get all of the documents. Now, once we get all the documents, we will then prepare the agreement. In the agreement is where we cover the terms such as, hey, you will be responsible if I'm unable to collect. If there's a dispute between you and your customer, then you will be responsible for repaying me. You will also be responsible for paying the percentage fee on the factoring fee. I am also going to list the transaction fees that are optional. So either an ACH, also known as direct deposit, or a wire. And so we cover the agreement. Typically, the way that I cover the agreement, and some of the fellow NOSA members can tell you, I do a Google Meets or a Zoom meeting, and we go page by page on the agreement to ensure that there's a clear understanding on what to expect from each other. I believe in long-term relationships, and so I do my best to just cover the ins and outs, and as I usually say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, that process, again, it can take about 48 hours, and I literally hold you throughout the process, hold your hand throughout the process. Now, I am reading as I'm speaking. I'm trying to keep track of the questions, and I have a few more here. Do you have used factoring for all of your clients? Okay, this is from Shamika. So here's one thing. You do not have to use factoring for all of your clients. And that's another thing that you should be looking at when evaluating your funding company, as you're looking at the various different ones that you're considering. Submit all your customers and do the financing for all of your customers, voices for that specific customer of yours. And the reason why is because the last thing we want to do is create conflict or create confusion between your customer, your company, and PLEX Capital on which invoice is owed to PLEX Capital or to the staffing company. And so you can have 10 customers and only finance 5 of those customers, and you do the rest on your own. And that's totally fine with us. But once you submit one, we will ask you to continue to submit the invoices for that specific one, okay? What if your state does not require workers' comp? Okay, and this is a question from Augie as well. If your state doesn't, then we don't need it, but typically we like to have this on file because if you're working with a customer that requires workers' comp, then they might hold back the payment if we're able to provide them that information. And typically, most of the facilities are really, really good about collecting all the information directly from you when you're setting up the account with them or establishing the relationship with them. But in instances where maybe they overlook that, they might reach to your factoring company and say, hey, I can't release the payment for the staffing company until I have proof of insurance, workers and liability. So that would be something that you can just get clarification specifically as you're setting up or again, establishing the relationship with your customer. Okay. All right. Let's see what other questions I have here. Okay, I don't have any more, but let's talk a little bit about your process of checking credit on your customers. So regardless of using a funding company or a company like PLEX Capital, I do ask that you hire the services of a company that can check credit on your customers. Larger organizations or larger facilities that you know are strong and they've been in business for a while, you might not necessarily be worried about being able to collect from them. Nonetheless, if you're going into the smaller, medium-sized companies, I do ask that you always check the credit on your facility. You want to make sure that you understand exactly how strong they are financially, and this is information that is available to you and that you should always pull before you go and do 30, 40, 60, $100,000 with your customer. So try to do that as soon as you're establishing that relationship, and definitely before you go and place nurses with them. This is from Shamika. So there are different agencies out there where you can pull credit. Duns & Bradstreet is one, or DMB is one. It is a little bit more expensive, and just so you know, even though we pull credit on the businesses, that is something that we do not pass on, the expense. We do not pass it on to our clients. That is something that we do for all of our clients, and so that is free. Let's see. My apologies, I'm trying to keep up here with the questions. Okay. Okay, so what other questions do we have? Ogie, do you have any more questions? Ruth? Michelle, any of you? Okay, I'll share with you some of the success stories that we've had. I do work with, like I said, a lot of members from NOSA, and they are actually some of the members that, some of my clients that started with me earlier on this year, they're the ones that encouraged me to speak with Shamika and let her know that I was helping them. I had one specific nurse that started with me, staffing company that started with me back in February of this year. And so right as we were going into COVID, she had started her business literally 2 weeks before the whole COVID situation happened. And the first week that she placed nurses, she did about $10,000 that week. She then found out that basically she overlooked the fact that she needed more money in order to pay her nurses. And she was put in contact with me by another NOSA member, called me and said, I'm in my second week. This week I'm billing $20,000 and I don't know how I'm going to fund this business because I'm taking on this contract and it's just growing really fast. Now, currently she's billing about $100,000 every week. And so the way that she has scaled up her business is obviously the contacts she had, and she's truly a great salesperson. So she goes out there and gets those contracts, but she has been able to scale up her business because PLEX Capital has been able to be there as she is getting those contracts, and we're able to fund her every week. And even though it has been really just going up every week and every month, we've been there to help them out. And that's another thing with factoring, is that it doesn't matter if you start with $10,000 the first month, and then by the second month you're at 200,000 or 300,000. With factoring, we're not a traditional bank, and so we're not going to be holding you back from getting those contracts, because now we got to reevaluate your personal assets, and what do you have for collateral or anything like that. Basically, we will grow your line of credit as you are growing your contracts, assuming that you're working with reputable companies. And that is the reason why we check credit on your customers. And so that is a success story, and we have plenty of those. We do work with other industries as well, but the nurse staffing industry is one that is really booming, especially with COVID-19. And we feel very comfortable with it. We really like the business, and we understand the business clearly. And so it is an industry that we really enjoy working with. Okay. Any more questions? Shamika, do you have anything for me?
No, I don't.
Okay, and so all of the members that are attending, where are you at with the process, and what were you hoping to get out of this meeting? I want to make sure that I cover everything and that you're getting what you were hoping to get, especially on a Saturday when you can be with your family. You decided to join us. So Michelle, if you don't mind, tell us where are you at with the process of opening your staffing agency, and what were you hoping to get from this meeting? Ogie, you want to chime in? Okay. So, Ogie, where are you at with the process? Shamika, are they able to unmute themselves? Okay. And
Everybody should be able to unmute themselves. I think if they just click on the microphone, I haven't muted anybody. Everybody's self-muted. And I think most of the people here, Amanda, are getting started. And a few of them are part of my course. So they're at the very, very early stages.
Okay, wonderful. And have any of you ladies heard about the services that we offer?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
This
yes.
is Audrey. This is Audrey. Hi. I'm just starting. Good to meet you as well. I'm just starting. I'm actually finishing up my certifications to be approved to operate in the state of Maryland. And hopefully by October, I can start seeking contracts. So I'm deciding which funding company to go with.
Okay, and Audrey, what are some of the things that you have heard about funding companies, and what are some of the questions that I have not answered through this presentation?
I haven't gotten a baseline information about funding companies. I think the major question for me is, what risk am I taking going through a funding company? I think they're very beneficial, especially for small companies starting off. And so that's why I asked the question about, so if this facility doesn't pay, like how much do I have to pay to make sure this is taken care of? So I'm just thinking about going in, what type of money I need to have stored, as a cushion, just in case, things fall apart. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking at my options. I just want to make sure I'm prepared.
Of course, of course. And what I would say is, you know, when it comes to the good, the bad, and the ugly, again, I would say, never ever go with a company that is going to make you sign a contract over 12 months. That is not a good situation to put yourself in. That's number one. Number two, look at every fee that you might be responsible for, such as monthly minimums, administration fees, application fees, setup fees, and the list goes on and on and on. And so that's item number two that I would say take a look at. And then, of course, item number three, if it's, you know, if someone is telling you you're not responsible for anything, that you can just send the invoice, get funded, and never worry about it, that is just not, no business operates like that. So the terms that we use in the industry is recourse and non-recourse, which I stated earlier. And typically with a non-recourse funding company, what they will do is the fee is going to be a little bit higher because they're giving you peace of mind that you're not responsible for anything. But it is only when your customer, well, let's put it this way, is under credit related matters. So understanding the definition of what they mean by saying credit related, it is critical. And what I typically would say is take that to a business attorney and make sure that he explains it to you. A salesperson will obviously tell you exactly what might make it more attractive. And so I always encourage anyone that is a little bit confused to just go and talk to a business attorney, to take the actual agreement and have that person review the agreement with you and explain it to you, because credit related can be defined in various different ways. And so you never want to walk into a company, get set up thinking that it doesn't matter what happens, you're not responsible. You will be responsible. And like I said earlier, it's no different than getting a line of credit from your bank. At the end, the bank is giving you that line of credit, and regardless of the situation with your customers or your business, you're still responsible for repayment. And so just, you know, understand clearly what it is that that non-recourse is covering, so you're not surprised later on. And then the other thing is understanding for how long they will be financing that invoice. I stated earlier that with PLEX Capital, we do it for up to 90 days. After 90 days, I'm expecting my client to send the payment back to us. Now, we do a really, really good job of evaluating your customer, evaluating your contract with your customer, and evaluating and verifying every single invoice that you send into our company, so we never get to that point where we're not able to collect. We're not in the business of financing invoices that I'm gonna have to go and charge back to my customer, or, I'm sorry, my client at the staffing company. Is just not good business. That's not how a funding company should be operating. So the experience that the factoring company has, slash funding company, I keep changing the terms, the funding company has matters, because a good experience funding company knows that they are not in the business of buying invoices or financing invoices if they're going to have to go and charge them back when it hits 90 days. And so that's one thing. The other thing is making sure you have visibility to your account. You never want to be put in a situation where you're just relying on the factoring company to tell you what's going on with your account. You want to have full visibility. You want to be able to log into your account, pull reports, see images of the invoices. You want to be able to see collection calls. You know, have they been calling my customer and trying to figure out why this invoice has not paid? Typically is a collaboration between you and the factoring company, like with PLEX Capital, for example. We work with our clients because we don't necessarily want to be bugging or damaging the relationship between you and the facility that you contracted with. So understand what type of experience they have, the funding company has or slash factoring company has, because that really matters. They might harm your relationship with your customer. They might be financing or buying invoices that in the end, you're just gonna have to go and repay if they're not doing their due diligence. And so that also matters. So yeah, that's my advice. Now, I do have a few questions here. Do you guys offer same-day payment options? Do you all partner or work with payroll companies? So, Shamika, we do. The biggest thing is when you're setting up the relationship with PLEX Capital, the number one thing that I'm telling you is, or asking you to do is, as you're establishing your contracts with your customers, set the expectation that you have hired a company to manage your receivables, and that company will need to get acknowledgement of the invoices when you send them in. And so our green light to get you funded on invoices, how we verify is by you sending the invoice to your facility and asking your contact to acknowledge the invoice, and also to acknowledge that the work was completed and that there are no issues with the hours that you're billing. In that email, when you're sending it in, you are carbon copying PLEX Capital. And so when they respond back acknowledging it, that's our green light to get you funded. So always set that expectation with your customer saying, hey, when I send you an invoice, can we agree on a time frame when you can acknowledge that invoice, because I do have a company that is managing my receivables. And so set up that expectation of, hey, 24 hours, 48 hours, however long you think it's a decent amount of time to give them to actually sign off on your invoice. But so long as they do respond back and we're included in that communication between you and your customer, I can get you funded the same day. And what I like to do is to get that acknowledgement by 2 p.m. Central, because we do have the cutoff time of the bank. And so if you're wanting a wire, I want to make sure that I can get that wire out to you that same day. But we do offer same day funding at no additional charge. That is just part of the services that we offer. Do you all work with NOSAs that are a part of vendor management systems? So yes, I can't give specifics as far as who, but yes, because of course, you know, those companies are the larger ones. And so yes, we do have companies that are working with vendor management systems, and we also have members that are working with smaller facilities as well, small to medium-sized facilities.
So Amanda, the reason I asked the question, and for you guys who don't know what the vendor management system is, kind of like a middleman that houses a lot of job opportunities with bigger clients. And I can talk with you offline if you want more information about that. But how is the process as far as getting funded different than if you're working with a client that is a direct client that might do a 45 or 30-day payout, where the vendor management systems typically run a little bit longer?
Yeah. So typically, and that is a great point, typically what you're going to see with the middle guys or the brokers, let's go ahead and call them brokers, is going to be about 60 days. And that's what we see. We also see that the margins are a little bit less. And, you know, I compare them to C.H. Robinson. Again, I came from transportation. So, you know, as I'm learning everything that I have to learn specific to your industry, I try to, you know, just kind of like say, okay, this is like a freight broker. And so it's the same thing. And when you get into freight brokers that are the larger ones in the US, companies like C.H. Robinson or Total Quality, or, you know, bigger companies like that. Those are the ones that I kind of see as the vendor management systems, or MSPs. And so typically they're going to have a big audience. And so there's not a whole lot of negotiation. And I mean, generally speaking, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying, generally speaking. So they are easier to get, I think, but margins are a little bit, you know, they're not as high in my experience. Did I answer your question, Shamika?
Yes. Can you touch on a little bit if there is a difference in how you guys fund it, or
No, there's not a difference, because many of these vendor management system companies, they're very technology based. And so there are portals. And so when, you know, the process of billing them might be a little slightly different, where you just upload the invoice to an online portal, a vendor online portal. And so we would just ask our client, you, to give us a user ID to log in, or your credentials to log in. And that's how we would be able to verify. So we wouldn't even need to receive acknowledgement via email from the customer, or in this case, the vendor management systems company. And so we would just be able to do it online. With other companies, when you're contracting directly with them, you know, again, we're gonna go a little bit of the old school of, you send the invoice to them because that's what they require. And in that, when you send that email with your invoice, that's when you're going to carbon copy PLEX Capital and ask your customer to just sign off on the invoice. And when they reply back saying, yes, everything looks correct, you know, invoice is correct, everything, that is our green light. And so we do very little picking up the phone and calling your customer. Everything is basically, you initiate the conversation, and they get back to you, and we're kind of in the middle. And unless we have questions about something, then that's when we reach out to your customer, and we're very professional about introducing ourselves and saying, hey, we work with XYZ nursing company, and we just want to verify this invoice. And so they are able to give us that information, because part of the agreement with your funding company is getting a notice of assignment signed. And so that notice of assignment is kind of like a power of attorney. That is something that I can give to your customer and say, hey, please update the remittance to PLEX Capital. Also, you can provide us information on the company, on the vendor, because they are authorizing you with this notice of assignment. And so that's when we would be reaching out to them without you having to get involved. Okay. All right, what other questions do we have? Ruth, do you have any questions? I see you there. Any questions that you might have? Okay. Well, Shamika, do you have any others for me?
Nope, I don't have any questions. I am going to save this Zoom and share it with the group. So you might have some more questions kind of coming down the pipeline.
Wonderful. Yeah, this is a great opportunity, in my opinion, for you to look into get into business. If you know what you're doing, do surround yourself with people that know about the business. And, you know, I think that Shamika has done a wonderful job putting this group together, because there are so many resources. Validate all the information, validate, make sure you understand exactly what you're getting into. With contracts with your customers, with your funding company, with your payroll company. Like, really, it's overwhelming, but do the work, do your homework, because you don't want to be stuck with a service provider that is not necessarily benefiting your business. And so I wish I could share specifics as far as like names of people that have reached out to me, and I can't do anything for them. But again, use me, utilize the knowledge that I've acquired throughout the years. And in the end, if you don't do business with me, that's fine. It's okay. I never, ever take it personal. I really enjoy being able to collaborate with different organizations. And I do that. I'm very, very involved here in Kansas City in the business community as well. And so do not hesitate. If you just want to have a call with me, let me know and we'll schedule something that works for both, a good time that works for both you and me. And, you know, we'll go down the list of all the questions and the questions you should be asking other funding companies as well. And I do have one more question here. From your experience, okay, so I have a question here saying, basically asking from your experience, have you had any issues on getting paid out? Is it a lot? So I believe earlier on, I mentioned why it's so critical to go with a funding company that is experienced. And the reason why is because you don't want a funding company that is sloppy and just buying your invoices and then charging them back to you because they're not doing their due diligence at the beginning. And so in my experience, we have not had a lot of paid out issues. Actually, the only issue that we had, even in the midst of COVID, was with one company that took 154 days to pay an invoice. And that invoice was about $3,500. And we never charged it back to our client because we gave our clients some additional time due to COVID. And so our client's customer was delaying the payment because they were impacted by COVID and they had to shut down and everything. We actually extended out that 90 days and we just said, we'll just work with them. Our client is still doing business with us and our client's customer is still taking our calls. We'll delay it, right? But no, we do not. We are very thankful that we're not in that situation, but it's because of our underwriting and risk management team. They are amazing and they do a really, really good job validating the invoices that you're billing for, the amounts that you're billing for, and we do not just advance the funds without verifying it. And so if we were just sloppy buying invoices and then saying, okay, well, later on the client can pay us, then we would have a lot. But I will not pay out, I will not finance or buy a receivable that has not been verified by your customer, and I will not finance a receivable for a company that doesn't have good credit, because in the end, I'm putting my company at risk and you will have to be responsible for repaying that invoice. So that we're just simply not in that business. In the ideal relationship, I'm financing your receivables for no longer than 60 days. To me, that is the ideal relationship. But no, it does, and I can't pronounce the name, is it Woodland? In my experience, I rather not finance or fund you on an invoice than buying it or financing it and then having to charge it back. That is just sloppy business. Okay. All right, well, I don't have anything else. I did include all my contact information right at the beginning. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to text. And if you need to coordinate a call, text me or call me or email me, whatever you prefer. Please do reach out. And again, I have no expectations other than just truly being able to collaborate with the NOSA team and being able to help you with checking the boxes as you're moving along. I'm not an expert on insurance. I'm not an expert on many things, but when it comes to commercial finance, that's what I've been doing my whole life. And so I do feel very comfortable speaking to anything that has to do with commercial finance, specifically as it relates to factoring. But thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye. Thanks, Shamika.
Thanks, Amanda. Bye.
Bye.